Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fabulous episode of the Empowering Women podcast. Today's guest has spent over 30 years helping people find the work they love. And trust me, with her energy, you're going to love hearing from her too. Noel Kreidler is a self-proclaimed recovering perfectionist, and so am I, so we're going to have a great conversation. She's a lifelong disability advocate and the Associate Director of Career Development at Santa Clara University. She's helped thousands of students launch their dream careers, and she probably could have launched a rocket too if she wasn't so busy co-authoring the book Faceplant, Free Yourself from Failure's Funk, which is coming out this November, and we'll hit on that later in the podcast. But when she's not mentoring the next generation, she's swimming, designing, writing, and reading, and apparently ignoring sleep like it's a group project gone wrong. But she's going to bring a lot of heart, humor, and a serious dose of wisdom to the podcast. Welcome, Noel, to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Shannon. It's really nice to be here and just spend time with everybody today. So I'm looking forward to our conversation.
So just for you all, I had a chance to meet Noel at a conference about a year and a half ago. So this was like Girls' Day when I got to finally see her on a screen. This was a fantastic treat for me, and it's going to be a treat for you. So Noel, we're going to start in my favorite place, which is with your story. So what do you want people to know about you and what brought you to where you are today?
Well, thanks. So what's really cool is I've always been interested in what people do for a living. Like I've always been interested in people's careers, and I've wanted to have a billion different careers myself. So I think it's great that I work with students because I get to live vicariously through them. I've wanted to be an architect. I've wanted to be a doctor. I've wanted to be interior designer. So I've ended up being more like a career counselor or a career coach, which has been a really great journey and fascinating process for me to work with students effectively. So that's my kind of career side. But I grew up in Delaware, so I'm from Delaware
Mm,
originally, and I've lived in California since 2009, and
okay.
so quite a bit of time. And this part of California, I'm in the Bay Area. This part of California is really similar to sort of the cultural ways of where I grew up. So I feel at home
Mm,
here, and I really like that. And I was born to parents. My dad was an architect, and so that was
mm.
partly why I wanted to be an architect. And my mom was a early childhood studies major and
Mm,
is loved kids and loved having kids. And so she knew about childhood development, which was really a good thing because I was born with a physical disability. And so she
mm,
understood kind of how to work with that. And I know we're going to talk some about disability related things on this
mhm.
podcast, but I am very open about my disability and what I have. That's maybe not so for everybody, nor do I think
Yeah.
everybody should share. But I was born with cerebral palsy, which is
Mm,
damage to the motor area of the brain, and it usually happens at birth.
mm.
And I didn't breathe for the first 5 minutes. So
Oh my goodness.
yeah, so that's a long time to not
That is
breathe.
a long
So
time.
I'm lucky to be sitting here, honestly, and I do feel that way. And it has really given me a lot of perspective about life and disability and discrimination and all those kinds of things that
Mm.
I know we will some gets into at some point.
Yeah, you have such a bright light, though. You have such a great energy. I saw that at the conference, and I obviously see that in the screen today. So your mom did well, Noelle. She did really
Yes,
well.
she did. She did a great job. I had the right parents for sure.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned you do have the unique life experience of navigating the world with a physical disability. Um, Share about to our listeners what has allowed you to look at challenges from a different perspective. I think that's a superpower of people that live with a disability.
I think for me, the world is obviously not set up for me physically. I mean, my disability causes me to have issues with mobility mostly, so I use
Mm,
a scooter to get around.
okay.
And so there's a lot of architectural barriers in my space on a regular basis, and I found that I'm in constant problem solving mode. Especially if
Mm,
I'm navigating something for the first time, like that I've never been to a place before. I try to save extra time, those
mm,
kinds of things.
yep.
So I'm always problem solving. And I kind of thought about what would be an example of something just in daily life that I do.
Mhm.
Um, about 15 years ago, I had a hip replacement, and it caused me to not be able to bend my leg past 90
Mm.
degrees on one side. And I don't bend very well anyway.
Right.
So
Yep.
so now I now have a new limitation that I was not used to,
Oh
and I
goodness.
have to wear compression stockings. And so all of the gadgets to put on compression stockings did not work for me. And I basically had to figure out, how do I get these things on so my legs stay in good shape? And how
Right.
do I do it by myself? Because I live by myself.
Mm.
So I have a really good friend who works in the healthcare world, and she knew about this person who had designed this really cool new gadget. And so I figured out how to get compression stockings on by myself, but it took me, the first time I did it, it took me 40 minutes to get my
Mm.
socks on.
Feels like, I mean, I'm being funny here, but it feels like me trying to get on pantyhose. Like that's the worst human design ever, I think. But
Yes. This was like that to an extreme.
yeah,
And now I've gotten it down to 10 minutes. So that's really awesome. But
yeah, that
from
is
40 to
awesome.
10, and then I can do it on my own. But that's the kind of thing where I'm always trying to figure out, how do I solve the next problem? So I consider myself a really good problem solver. And I look at it that we all have different abilities, different ways of doing things. And so that's just a part of life. And so I don't think there's one right way to do anything for the most
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, I love that perspective. And I'm going to jokingly tell you you're an engineer at heart then. So your students that are considering, I'm going to call it engineering or the related type, because that's just, I was joking with a coworker that when you come out of engineering school, we were talking about what you would actually apply in your day-to-day life. I
Yeah.
said, you're basically a degreed problem solver. That's what you are when you come out of engineering school. So any of your students that are considering STEM type fields, you're definitely the right coach mentor for them.
All right. Well, I'll think of that as another career. I can't live long enough to do all these things, but
No, you're doing it. The
yeah,
whole thing that you just talked about compression socks and figuring out how
yeah,
to get them on.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Um, yeah, what I love, Noel, about the conversations you and I've had to have is that you navigate disability or to discuss it in a way that I think is empowering and humanizing, just like the conversation we just had. What misconceptions or stereotypes do you find yourself battling in your day-to-day life, and how do you respond to that?
Yeah, that is a really great question, and it really has me kind of pause and think a little bit about what that is, because I do think so much of the time I go about life in a positive way, and yet there are things that really annoy me that I just kind of deal with. So one of them is like, you're an inspiration. And I know people
Mm,
mean that in a
they
really
mean it
great
well.
way. They mean it well, but it comes across as, you're an inspiration because you have a disability. It's like, that's not real for me. And that's not really what I'm about. That's not what I'm trying to do in life. So that's one of the things that I deal with. And then another one that comes across a lot of the time is, if people with disabilities are successful, it's like you're successful in spite of your disability,
Mm,
or you've overcome your disability, which I didn't wake up today without cerebral palsy, so that's not true. And I have been successful,
right.
and I'm actually living my life powerfully with a disability instead
Mm,
of in spite of having one. Like, it
yeah.
is in ways a contribution to my life and how I look at the
Yeah.
world. And not that it's always happy, wow, but
Oh, I'm sure.
I don't wake up every morning and go, "Oh my gosh, I have cerebral palsy again. That didn't go
Yeah.
away overnight." I am like living powerfully with a disability. I accept my disability. I'm happy in my body. I know how it works.
Mm.
I'm not just like everybody's happy in their body. We all have different bodies. They all work in
Yeah.
different ways, right?
And maybe people without your what we might typically think is a disability. I think that's a huge thing for anybody to be happy with the body they have, especially for I'll pick on
Yeah,
women here, right?
right. Yeah. I worry more about being 10 pounds overweight than I do about
Well,
that.
we share that one. I'm
Right.
losing that battle, Noel, but that's okay.
I'm not sure I'm winning it either, Shannon. So there you go. But that's really what's there for me. And I think I think my disability isn't really as much the issue ever as people's like attitudes about my disability or what disability means or the assumptions that they make. Like that's what I deal with. It even makes it hard sometimes to be public because people will do whatever they do with that. Like, oh, you're such an inspiration. And then I just want to kind of go hide so I can be like
Yeah.
everybody else, you
Yeah.
know?
You're like, you just highlighted something that I would prefer that you just, I don't know, maybe it's not ignore it, but just don't give it a whole lot of attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want you to ignore it, but I don't want that to be the main thing that you see about me. Like there's
Yep.
so much more to me, and yet that is a part of me that is also a really great part.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you shared the problem solving part, and I will say I think you're an inspiration that you're mentoring the younger generation, because it's a challenging time for them. They're trying to figure out what to do and how does that look and how would I navigate this environment. And to me, that's I have the opportunity to lead younger talent right now in my day job, and I find that part inspiring because you get the chance to help set the stage, I'll call it, for whatever their life looks like, 5, 10, 15 years from now.
That part's exciting, and it's truly a privilege. I love working with the students. That's my
Yeah.
favorite part of my job.
Well, you tell them you're a trained problem solver now. Say that maybe that's your that's you got to put something about problem solving in your office somewhere at work.
Maybe.
I have one more question. So we're going to release this episode in July, and that is Disability Pride Month. It is also the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is huge for folks and making sure they have the right opportunities. What does this month mean for you personally and or professionally?
So what's really interesting about this month, I never forget the month of July because that is when the ADA was passed, and it passed 2 months after I graduated from college. It was
Oh
something.
wow! I didn't like.
Yes.
I mean, I just didn't. I didn't know the timing, but oh,
Yeah.
interesting. So there was a lot of
Yes.
your life you navigated in very
Oh,
formative
yeah.
years before that was an option.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was born in the 1960s. I mean,
Okay.
disability was a bad thing
Mm,
in that was the way I grew up. Like there's something wrong with you. I mean, so
mm,
that's how I grew up. It's definitely shifted a lot since that time.
right.
So July is really an awesome month. I'll never forget July 26th of 1990 because I do remember the date. And I was working on a paper with an economics professor around labor economics, and we were thinking about, well, how would the ADA, change employment of people with disabilities? I can't say that we've made a ton of strides there, to be
We have
honest.
not. And
Um,
even with what I call more hidden disabilities, like
yes.
more cognitive or learning disabilities.
Yeah, the non-apparent disability piece is really, really a place where we need to do a lot more work for sure. But
Yeah.
what the month means to me is it's a chance to look back from where we've been, look at where we are now, and look at where we want to be in the future and acknowledge the people that have helped us get to where we are today and where we want to get to in the future. Like, what can we do collectively? I think what's cool about disability pride is it's a social side of
Mm,
disability. It's about really embracing the disability experience and really counterbalancing like ableism and dealing with what does ableism mean and how do we kind of get away from the systemic prejudice against people with
mm.
disabilities. So it's a really cool month.
One of the minor things that I've had a chance to, I guess, change my own mindset is when you make accommodations, I'll call it, for people with disabilities, you improve the life for everyone. And this could be like on sidewalks, or it could be in a product that you're launching. So if
Yes.
you have input with somebody that might have, more challenges than you have, like you started reframe perspective, either just day-to-day living or a product that you're launching. I found that really interesting. And I think that applies to a lot of different diversity, but particularly to disability.
Yeah. Well, and the truth is anybody can join the disability community at any time. I mean,
Yeah. Hmm.
it can happen. And to your point, so many things that have benefited people with disability and really were invented that for that purpose have made a difference for everybody. And you mentioned sidewalks. That's the classic example of curb
Right.
cuts. What a
Yeah.
huge what a huge difference. And
Yep.
I can definitely experience the difference when I go to places and countries where they don't have that. So,
Oh yeah.
like, yikes, you know?
Yeah. I think it's a real, I would love our listeners to take away that. Like when you're in a project, like start considering diverse perspectives. And if it's going to have a physical, more physical, or even mental, like I think some of the screen things that people use on their laptop screens, I think that may have come from something like that as
Yes.
well. So it can be things that, to your point, sidewalks is a more classic example, but there are other things that you wouldn't even think about, or making things easier with the software that you use, like PowerPoint and things, make it
Yeah.
easier for somebody who might be colorblinded, for example, but it makes it easier for everyone to use that
Yes.
software.
Yeah, I mean, I even think of I have a a tea kettle that I bought and I just love it, and it makes the handle really easy to use. Because even though my disability mostly just affects the way I walk, it
Right.
also affects all of my other limbs. So, I'm just tighter in my body,
Mm.
and so I got this tea kettle, and then I was reading about it, I'm like, "Gosh, why do I love this so much?" Because it's really designed from a perspective of accessible design. It turns out the company X or OXO,
Mm.
that's what they're all about, is designing things that create ease for all people and include all people. So, really, that makes a huge difference when you think about universal design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say jokingly, Noel, I think tightness comes with age. So some of the exercises that I'm doing, I found a fitness instructor that focuses on women that are a little bit more wiser and advanced in years, I'll call it. And so she does a lot of stretching and tightening. So I think, I'm sure some of it's your own experience, but I think all of us experience that as we get a little older.
Yeah. I've just had it my whole life. So,
Yeah, fair
yeah.
enough. Yeah. Well, I guess I'm starting to feel a little bit of what you've had to deal with for a much longer time. Because she does some of the stretches, Noel, and I'm like, oh, this hurts. I'm going to have to get out of this. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. I know you're very passionate about helping others find and succeed in work that truly lights them up. What sparked your passion for career empowerment?
It started when I was at the University of Arizona. So
Okay.
I was a sophomore there,
Okay.
and I was working on a class for a speech. Actually, I think I was a freshman. End of my freshman year, I was working on a class for a speech, or a speech for a class, sorry. And the person that I talked to about my speech happened to be the director of the Career Center. And he gave me some really good tips. We talked for an hour. It was a very off the cuff, not arranged time to meet. And at the end of it, he offered me a job as a resume critiquer, which is not while I was there. And for the last 3.5 years of my schooling, that's what I did. That was my job. So 20 hours a week, I critiqued resumes for students in the Career Center, and I loved it. It was the most fun, exciting. And
Mhm.
when I was growing up, because there was no ADA and some of those things yet, I was really worried. Like, am I going to be able to get a job? Like,
Oh,
I
true.
don't see people like me out there in the world,
Mm.
and if they are there, they're working in the government or they're working in education. And at that time, I did not want to do either one of those things. And so I really was very worried. And that job was so helpful in giving me exposure to the career world and building my confidence. And somebody really took a chance on me. I mean, this guy didn't know whether I could, critique resumes or not. I mean, Ron Hummel was awesome. And he really changed my life. I mean, at 19, he really
Mm.
changed my life. So I did not know that at the time, but very grateful to him. He's no longer alive, but he
Oh,
became a mentor. Yeah. Well, that happens.
yeah, it
And
happens to all of us.
unfortunately. So, but anyway, that's what started it. And I just consider it, like I said earlier, a privilege really to work with students. I mean, they really move me. They, um, they really give me the perspective of trying and taking risks.
Mm.
They're doing things for the very first time. When you think about looking for a career, that's not something that you really
Oh,
start
and it's
doing till
intimidating.
later.
I think for those of us who've been
Very.
in a little bit older in years, we forget how intimidating that process can be.
it's very intimidating, and there's a lot of rejection that goes along with it, so
Mm,
you're really being tested, you're getting told no, you make mistakes doing stuff that you didn't know you were even making a mistake doing, so it's really that kind of thing, so it causes me to approach each day from, like, a beginner's mindset, and it makes me
mm,
really think about, like, wow, this person's taking a huge risk. I want to support them in building that muscle so that they can continue to do that, to really find what they want in their
yep.
life and in their career. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got me thinking about, like I mentioned, I manage a team with early talent, and in the corporate world, the interview process is very intimidating. They tend to be panel interviews, maybe 3-ish people, and I can see, like, if you're, 18 years old and you're sitting in front of 3 adults, especially some of them, a lot of them are virtual, even post-COVID because of just people's locations. That
Yeah.
has to be really weird for somebody that's,
Yeah. If you've
20 some years old and they're like, "This is really weird. This seems really awkward. I'm not sure how to behave."
and you've never done it before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, but you don't have a lot in your past to inform you about anything because you haven't lived long enough
Yeah.
to know. So students are worried, well, gosh, I need to find my career for the rest of my life when I'm 22. Well, good luck with
Yeah,
that.
I got a quick funny story about that. So we had an intern on our team, actually he might be coming back, but we had an intern on our team, and when we interviewed him, so there was a question somebody asked about, like, when was a mistake or, thing that didn't go well, and how would you adjust, a question like that. And he was like, "Well, I can't really think of any. I can't think of any mistakes." Like, it was just really kind of a funny response. And the funny part is we ended up hiring him, and he's phenomenal, right? So it talks about, like, how, like, that's such an unreal experience for a college grad.
Right. Yeah. But I love my students and I do fall in love with them. I just think they are the best. I miss them when they graduate. This time of year is very
Mm,
difficult. There are a couple people this year that graduated that I will really miss. And I
aw,
supervise the student workers in my office and they become people that I keep in touch with and care
yeah.
about. And
What a lasting legacy.
yeah, it's really, really a privilege. I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
All right, I'm gonna ask you a tough career question. So, what advice you give to someone who feels stuck or unseen in their career, especially if they're navigating additional biases that could be disability, that could be gender or bias or burnout, something like that? How do you coach somebody who's feeling stuck?
Yeah. Well, that's an awful place to be, and I've certainly been there in my career. Maybe
Mm,
you have too.
I
Yeah,
have.
not a fun place. I think the best thing before you make any rash decisions is to really kind of work through whatever's going on. Like, really take stock. So the first piece is, for me, it's really around, like, spending time with yourself and sort of figuring out, doing some reflection. What is the real issue here? Am I triggered by something? Is it something outside of me in my environment, that's going on that I need to address in some way? And maybe you write or journal or meditate or do some things around that. And I know that sounds simplistic, but I do think those things really do help to kind of help you gain some perspective. And then I think a part of it is also really getting together with somebody else. So
Mm,
whether it's a friend that can really listen and provide perspective and not just give you what you want to hear, but challenge you in your thoughts and thinking, or it might be that you need identify a very specific issue and you start with like a coach of some kind that can help you, a life coach type person, or you hire a career coach because hey, I need to really make a shift here and I need some help doing that. It's not something I can do on my own. Or maybe it's a counseling situation or a therapist, but somewhere where before you do anything, you work through whatever the issue is. Like, that's what I think you
mm,
really need to do, because a lot of the time it's just easier to walk away from a bad situation than it is to really get down to the nitty-gritty. And I have found in my own career, when I have not dealt with a situation and I have left and moved on, guess what? I followed myself, and the same situation comes back again because I didn't handle it powerfully.
Or you take more of that
Time.
baggage into your next opportunity. You probably always
Yes.
carry a little bit of it, but you take more and it impacts your ability to move forward.
Or it even is blown up more because you didn't deal
Mm,
with it. Like, you pick something that's even a worse situation. Like, I had a situation when I first came to Santa Clara where I just really did not feel, like, comfortable with my disability on campus. Like, there were a lot of issues I was having around accessibility, which I did not
mm.
expect, and it wasn't until I had joined an affinity group on campus that it really made a difference for me, because then I started finding people on campus that were facing similar challenges, and
Mm.
we all got together and started thinking of ways we wanted to address that. So, and some of them had been doing that long before I came along. So I just feel like sometimes it's that. Maybe you find a group of people that you really identify with that makes a difference. So I know some of that may sound simplistic, but I do think
I don't think
you
so.
really need to deal with what's going on, and that's the hard part.
Yeah, I love your first piece of advice. So I would tell anybody, young, mid career, older career, I would always say have either a mentor, a career coach, or a leadership coach. And I understand, like, if you're a 22-year-old person just starting their career, you probably can't afford a career coach, but you likely can find a mentor that will do anything for you for free. And I can tell you, there's usually people won't say no, or they'll just say not yet. Give me, 2, 3 months. Let me
Yeah.
get something behind me. But generally, they won't say no.
No, they
Um,
won't, and you should check if you have gone to a college, you should check with your university to see what their career
oh, good
center
point.
offers, because in our career center, we offer 4 coaching sessions a year to alumni for the first 5 years after they graduate.
Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
then they can use any of our online resources, and there are a lot of them. So,
Mm,
like a lot of Santa Clara's career resources are public. You can go out to the website and get a lot of
mm.
information. But the coaching piece, 4 times a year for the first 5 years, that's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
And you don't pay for it.
Yeah,
You've
that's a
already
great
paid for it.
offering. Yep.
You've paid for it because you've gone to school here, but you're not
Right.
paying for it after you graduate. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great. I didn't thought about that. That's a learning for me, Noel. I always learn from these conversations, and now
Yeah.
I am armed to tell my younger talent, hey, go back to your university, see if they have career coaching, just to help you get an
Yeah.
outside perspective.
Yeah,
Yep.
every school's different in what they do, but definitely worth checking.
Yeah, definitely worth
Yeah.
checking. And then I love the second piece, which I say is community. So it's build that community of support for you, especially when you have those days that you're just like, life sucks and I can't take it anymore. Like, you have that community that, to your point, can give you perspective,
Yeah.
but also can just uplift you when you just need a little bit of smile in your day.
Yeah, those days when you wanna take your keys and walk.
Yeah, I joke and say that I have a window back there that my computer's going to find its way in the yard one day.
Maybe
Let's
just, like, open it, just open the window.
just open the window. Oh, I don't know how that thing got out there. Well, I want to switch topics and talk about something I think is just super exciting. So, your book, as I mentioned on the outset, is coming out in November. It is
Yes,
entitled Faceplant: Free Yourself from Failure's Funk. And it is authored by yourself, Dr. Melissa Bowie, and Keely Hurley. I think the title alone is powerful. What inspired the project, and what do you hope readers take away from it?
so Keely and Melissa and I worked on a project together in early 2020, back when I was doing some consulting work before I worked at Santa Clara. And Melissa hired me. She and I have been friends for a long time, and she hired me to do some work around looking at what could make the space in their work environment a little bit more accessible. And Keely was working with her at the time, and so that's how the three of us got connected. So I met Keely at that time, loved her, and then the pandemic hit, and that shut everything down. And so anyway, that stopped. And then Melissa and I have always kept in touch, and she's like, I think I want to write another book. And so she approached Keely and I after some time and said, "Do y'all want to write another book with me? I'm not sure what I want to write about." And then she's like, "But I think I want to write about failure." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, I don't know about that." Failure scares
It's sort
me,
of
you know?
like the stories that Brene Brown talks about shame. She jokes like if she's on an airplane with
Yeah.
somebody and she's obviously sitting next to a person and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm a researcher on shame." And
Yeah.
they're kind of like, "Oh, no
Yeah.
thanks."
Yeah. And there's a lot out there about failure. So we wanted to do something that was a little bit different, but yeah, it scared me, and at the same time I've always wanted to write a book, and I figured, well, if I'm that scared of it, I probably ought to do it. And so, that's kind of how it got started. And I think did you ask me what you want people to take away
Yeah, I
from it?
asked you
Yeah.
kind of what inspired the project.
Yeah.
Yep. And what do you want people to take away from it? Yep.
Yeah. And I think what I want people to take away is a couple different things. One is yeah, failure can be very heavy, and there are some parts in the book that are very heavy, but there's also some lightness too. We do have fun with it, especially the title. But I think I want a couple things. One, I want people to really take stock of failures, like important failures of in their life, and really work through them. So, kind of like what you would do when you're not happy in your career. What's a big failure you've had, and like really dig deep, not just the surface level. And we had to do a lot of that in the book for ourselves.
Hmm.
Um, we've written some things in the book and talked about how we've kind of worked through failures. I mean, I saw some things that I did not particularly like. So,
Hmm.
that in some ways I'm
Yeah,
probably
you've actually
still
got my
dealing
brain
with.
spinning right now, Noel, and I'm
Yeah.
we'll save that for a different podcast. But
Yeah. So that's one. And then the other is what we discovered when we were doing our own work with this was that we all have patterns around how we fail and what we do when we fail. And so it'd be great
mm,
to start identifying what your patterns are so that you can prevent yourself from going down a funky place every single time you fail, because guess what? This book is not about stopping failing. That's going to continue to happen as long as you're alive and doing things. So that's just what's so. And then I think the third thing that I would want people to walk away with is some power to choose differently based on seeing the patterns that you have in life around failure, and then also being willing to put yourself out there and experiment with failure, but from a smart perspective. Don't just go like, oh, I think I'll go fail today and not think about it.
yeah.
But like, and then how can you incorporate whatever failure you have into a learning experience for
Mm.
yourself and others? So
Yeah, you got me thinking about that pattern, Noel. I think one of my patterns is I usually beat myself up, depending on what the failure is and how I'll call it large it is.
yeah,
I tend to go, oh man, that was stupid. And then it turns into you're stupid, which is never a good thing, right? You're personalizing it.
yeah. Yeah, that is, and we do talk about that in the book. Gotta separate
Okay,
yourself
that's
out from that.
yep. There's another good reason
Yeah.
to read that. What your pattern is that's an incredible learning. I think if you really dig into that, that's an incredible learning
Yes.
of how you respond because then you start to recognize it in the moment, your pattern of
Yeah.
response. Yep.
Yeah.
But it is, Noel, in my opinion, such a universal experience. Yeah, we rarely talk about it honestly. Like I don't think it's something that if you and I were out having coffee or having drinks after work, we're like, oh hey, how do you feel about failure? But I'm curious if you're willing to be vulnerable. What does failure look like in your story, and how have you really turned it more into fuel for impact?
So this really came up during the book, during writing the book, and I never had really seen this at this level before, but a lot of my failure pattern, one is there's definitely a fear. So why I say I'm a recovering perfectionist, because I really don't. I mean, most people don't go, yeah, let me go fail today. That's not what you're going to do. But I really don't like it, and I really try to do everything I can to like not fail. And part of that stems from, and I didn't realize this at the time, but my life has been so much about proving how capable I am, because people
Mm,
one of the misconceptions that people have that I don't know that I mentioned earlier is that people with disabilities are not capable. And so
mm.
like there's a lower expectation of what we're able to do. And so I like I'm going to prove you wrong no matter what, right? And
You and
that's
I are related somewhere because I have
yeah,
the same gene for
yes.
different reasons, but the same gene.
Yes, I know it's probably more of a universal gene than I realized, but it really what really shows up for me is that I will take things on and do things to prove that I can, to the point where I'll either fail and not talk about it because that means that, oh, all those things that people say about people with disabilities are true, or I
Mm.
will kill myself doing it so that I can prove you wrong. And what ends up happening is that means, like, I've impacted myself physically at times to the point where,
Oh,
like, I've hurt myself, or financially something's gone wrong and that's not helped, or, you know, emotionally something's not working right, like that. So that's my mode, is to just power through and prove that I can. And not that I didn't see that I'm a prover. I've known that for a long time, but I didn't really see how it impacted me from a failure
mm.
perspective. I had no idea that it crept into that part of my life. And
Yeah,
and so
interesting.
I I am glad that I've seen that. I can't tell you that it's gonna, like, magically go away. This is an ingrained pattern that I've had
Yep.
since I can remember. Like, literally, I can remember times really young where this has been going on. But what I can say is, by being aware of it, I do have different choices that I can make. And I'm sure sometimes, and I have since, made different choices and will in the future, and sometimes I'll go down that path. But it is exhausting to prove yourself all the time, and
Yep.
that's exhausting. And
It is
I
exhausting.
really want to make different choices around that, and so I want other people to have the opportunity to do that too.
Yeah. I will say, I think that's a burden that many people, and I'm going to use the term marginalized groups. So that can be
Yes.
gender, it could be sexual orientation, it could be skin color, it could be a lot of different things. But I think that's a burden that if you're an only in an organization or you're one of few,
Yes.
you become the representative, I'm using air quotes, of that race of people or whatever that group of people. And then you carry that extra burden of, oh, well,
Yeah.
if that person, if Shannon can't do it, then women in my case can't do it, right? It becomes a one-to-one.
Yes. Yeah. I think the hard thing about that is, coming from that place of proving people wrong, is it really separates, the stereotype separates me from other people, and then what I do with it internally separates me from other people. So it's really disempowering.
Yeah. Yeah,
The whole way
the
around.
internal part, I'm laughing, Noel. I'm laughing at myself because one of my favorite things is I've many times in my life I've been underestimated. I chose in a career that was in a more male populated space. So I'm
Yes.
like, go ahead, underestimate me, see how that works out for you. Like that's just my brain, but then it's a very self-imposed problem in my mind because then failure
Yes.
becomes not a positive thing, but something that's unacceptable.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And so that's the thing that I've really seen out of writing and working on this book. And I'm grateful to that. I'm grateful to Keely and Melissa for really being there in this process. We've gone through a lot together to make this available to other people, and I'm excited about that.
I'm excited. This is it's I think we all need to read this book. I might be buying the whole thing for my team and going, here, we're gonna have a book study. I got one final question for you. If you
Yeah.
could whisper one truth into the ear of someone struggling through their own face plant moment right now, what would you say to them?
I think this kind of goes back to some of the things that we've talked about already, but I think you want to deal with it. Like, deal with whatever's going on. And part of that is deal with yourself.
Mm,
So that's one of the that's the biggest thing. But other than that, besides that, is like, have self-compassion. You're human. You're gonna make a mistake. I guarantee it's gonna happen to you.
lots of times.
Yeah, lots of times it's not gonna be a one-off situation. And even the things that don't look like mistakes, if you're a prover like me, are mistakes, because then you've sold yourself short in the end by harming yourself in some way,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
So you got to have self-compassion. That's really, really important. So you got to deal with the failure, have self-compassion. And then I think also, so many people are worried more about their own failures than yours. So what looks like such a huge thing may not, it's like gone from there. They're not thinking about that anymore, you
Yeah,
know?
I know we're so self-focused. All humans are self-focused. So they
Yes.
think when we screw up, everybody's like, oh, they really messed up. And when most people are like just going on, unless it impacts them in some way, they're just going on, going, oh, well, they didn't.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they probably don't even notice it.
So it's not one thing, it's probably those 3. That's what comes to my mind. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Noel, I can't believe it that our time is coming to a close. I guess my one final question is where can people find you? Like if they're looking for you, want to connect with you.
I am on LinkedIn every day. So you can find me on
Okay.
LinkedIn. That's the best place to find me. There'll probably be other places to find me in the next few months. We're working
Yep.
on some ways to get our book known and stuff like that, but those things are not, live yet. So
Yep. Well, Noel, let me know when they become live,
I
and you
will.
and I will find a way to share them with the community. We can brainstorm on what that looks like.
Sounds good. Thank you
Awesome.
so much, Shannon. This was a blast.
This
I
is so
really
much
enjoyed
fun. I know I
it
told you
really
it's just like
was.
girl time.
It is, and it went so quickly. I can't even believe we're already to this point.
I know.
Yeah, thank you
Well,
for the
thank you, Noel.
opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Noel, for being here. Thanks, guys, for listening. And I will see you again on the next episode of the Empowering Women podcast. Bye, everybody.
Bye.